Change your day, not your life. A secret behind the magic. A hired car glided smoothly into the pickup area in front of the MBA advertising agency in London. Two advertising agency executives climbed into the car at the chauffeur's directive. They had no idea where they were going or why. They at least knew they weren't being kidnapped, they were only going on a secret assignment. The executives settled into the backseat and watched the buildings go by as they were driven through the heart of London. They soon arrived at a business office, where they were greeted by Darren Brown, a well-known illusionist in the United States and the United Kingdom, and the host of a popular television show titled Mind Control. As they sat down in a conference room at Brown's direction, they were given this challenge: design a logo and strap line, slogan, for a new chain of stores. The product: taxidermy, the stuffing and preserving of dead animals. Before he allowed the advertising executives to begin their design work, Brown announced he had already drawn up some ideas and had put them in a sealed envelope, which he had placed under a stuffed cat on the conference room table. Brown gave them 30 minutes to complete their task, and he left the room. The ad men immediately launched into full brainstorming mode. They identified various ideas and themes, threw out most of them as ridiculous, and then focused on one idea and developed it as best they could in the time given. Brown returned to the room and the men revealed their ideas. Logo: a bear sitting on a cloud playing a harp. Slogan: Animal Heaven, the best place for the best dead animals. Brown complimented them on their creativity and then asked them to open the sealed envelope he had left in the room. They opened the envelope, and as they read the contents, the blood seemed to drain from both of their faces. One of the men dropped his head into his hands as he thought, "I've been gutted." Brown's document showed the sketch of a logo with a bear sitting on a cloud playing a harp. The slogan assigned to the logo read, "Creature Heaven, where the best dead animals go." The wording was not identical, but it was close enough to be uncanny. How did Darren Brown influence these two highly paid creative professionals, whose livelihood was to come up with original ideas, to draw nearly the same logo and write nearly the same slogan that he had developed? Was there a secret? Yes. As the ad men walked out of the building to get back into the car Brown had sent, their attention was caught by a painting on the wall of a nearby building, plainly in their line of sight as they had arrived at Brown's office. It was a painting of a bear. As they reviewed the route to the meeting, they noted that they had first been driven past the London Zoo. At a stoplight by the zoo, a group of people walked across the crosswalk. All were wearing light blue sweatshirts with the word "Zoo" printed across the front. At the next stoplight, to their right, they had seen a department store window with a big harp on display. They were then driven past a coffee shop with a chalkboard outside that included the words, "Creature Heaven." As they had entered Brown's building, they had walked past a man holding a flip chart with more subtle cues. In the time that it took to drive these two ad men across town, Darren Brown had cued, influenced, triggered, and motivated these men to think and act in a very specific way. Scary, huh? When I first read about this incident, I was so fascinated. By it that I decided to test it on several audiences, with a combined total of 9,000 people. One of the audiences had 4,000 healthcare designers, creative people by training and experience. I asked these audience members to do the same exercise Brown had prescribed: draw a logo and invent a slogan for a series of taxidermy shops. I did not, however, give them any of the cues that Brown had known were along the ad men's drive to his office. Without the cues the ad men were exposed to on their trip in London, how many in my audience do you think drew a logo with a bear, much less a bear sitting on a cloud playing a harp? You're right if you said none. Of the 9,000 people asked to come up with a slogan, how many of them used the phrase animal heaven or creature heaven? You're right if you said zero. There has been an active debate through the years as to whether subliminal advertising works. Most experts agree that it does not work. Hidden messages don't seem to have much of a mysterious influence on us. But, at the same time, research has shown consistently that cues have a surprising effect on us. Environmental triggers, those things we encounter and perceive as we go through our lives, whether they are consciously or unconsciously perceived, do influence our attitudes, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, far more so than most might think. Have you ever asked yourself, why don't I want to do what I know I should do? Have you ever thought, why don't I seem to be as happy as I should be, given what is going on in my life? Have you ever questioned, why am I more cranky or tired or less patient than I should be, given the facts of my life? The truth is, your day is a series of cues that trigger how you feel, act, and think much more than you may realize. From the moment you awaken, the supercomputer between your ears begins to take in a wide variety of information through all of your senses. These cues trigger a sequence of thoughts, feelings, and actions that build upon one another. Each thought, feeling, or act becomes another cue. The momentum associated with these cues builds not only in the moment, but throughout the day. Each passing hour adds more cues, forming the conclusions about your day. It is a good day or a bad day, you are feeling positive or negative, you have been productive or unproductive, you are energized or you are drained, and so forth. That prevailing opinion of your day likely carries on into your sleep, and determines an upon awakening set of cues that begin your next day. Over time, the cues you routinely take into your mind can create a prevailing attitudinal worldview, one in which you can eventually feel trapped without even knowing that you have been taken captive. Cues can eventually produce a general attitude, pessimism, optimism, fatalism, or any of a number of other isms. Perhaps the most insidious of all facts related to this is what you imagine, or the series of thoughts that play out in your mind, are cues that trigger you. You will begin to look for, validate, and reinforce the cues that you think about, even if you have not encountered those cues in real life. Let me give you an example. Close your eyes and imagine that you are walking down a sidewalk past a small bakery. The aroma of cinnamon and yeast bread is filling the air. You can almost feel yourself salivate at the idea. Does this smell trigger you to quicken your pace to outwalk the temptation? Do you veer into the bakery and lay claim to one of the biggest and most sumptuous cinnamon rolls you have ever seen? In the aftermath, Do you feel proud of yourself for resisting? Guilty for succumbing? What do those thoughts trigger? Will it trigger a change in your lunch plans? Will it impact your communication with people you now perceive as cinnamon roll-worthy colleagues, or those you believe should abstain from having as many cinnamon rolls as they seem to be eating? These cues and triggers build upon one another and become basic patterns of thinking and feeling. To change your day, begin by considering the cues that you encounter on a daily basis. If the cues you are experiencing are not serving you well, if you don't like the way you are thinking, feeling, or acting, make an intentional decision to refocus your attention, to redirect your imagination and patterns of thinking, and to begin to absorb cues that you believe can create greater motivation, energy, productivity, optimism, creativity, and more rewarding relationships with others. People who thrive in a high-demand world take a more intentional approach to what they perceive. Choose to really look at their world and be aware of what is being absorbed into their conscious and subconscious minds. Build their daily life so that it consistently cues greater and greater positive energy.